Well, hello and thanks for joining me for another Airbrush Asylum video. In this video, I'm going to show you how I airbrushed this pile of sepia skulls. The colours that I used for this project were a flesh tone mixed with white and a bit of sand. They're Trident colours, a Bloodline Old Bone White, Burnt Umber by Createx Illustration Colours, as well as sepia, plus white Trident airbrush paint mixed with reducer and transparent black. This artwork was airbrushed on a small canvas, so let's get into that right now. Okay, so just starting off with my flesh tone mix. So as I said earlier, flesh tone mixed with sand, white and reducer. This is Trident airbrush paint, and I'm just doing a base coat over the entire canvas using my HPCS Iwata Eclipse with a 0.35mm needle. So now I want to add some texturing to the background, and I'm using burnt umber for this particular step, and this will also be my first color that I use when I begin to airbrush the skulls. So you'll notice I'm just kind of using a texture template. This is the texture template by Gerald Mendez. It's an art tool template, TFX1 series. And I'm just gradually spraying through that whilst moving the template. So you'll see that I'm getting sort of softer spots as well as harsher textures coming out on the surface of the canvas. I'm now using a template from Texture Effects 2, also by Gerald Mendez, and this is also an art tool template. Doing the same sort of thing, moving it around and just building up a nice texture with this burnt umber, and just varying it from laying it flat as well as moving that template to get those more sort of softer textures coming through. Okay, so now I'm using this mixing stick, and I'm just angling my airbrush down onto that in order to ricochet the paint off and to create a spattering effect. I'm still using burnt umber, and I'm just going to add these spatters randomly over the textures just to create a bit more of that sort of grungy, dirty background, and then we'll layer our skulls on top of that. Okay, so to create our skulls for this particular project, I'm going to use the Skull Background 4 from AirShot Stencils. I will put links to all the products used in this particular video in the description below. So I'm just lining up this template and continuing with my burnt umber. I'm just spraying through the template to create my skulls. So just holding that template in position, being careful not to move it. Obviously if it does move on you, just line it back up again. This is just to get your outline, as you can see, just so you can see exactly where you're going with it, and then I'm going to further detail throughout this video, so be sure to watch until the end to see the completed artwork. And I'm just adding some of those skulls in the corners there, just to fill the gaps. And you can see how easy that is to do. That's the beauty of using a freehand template. I mean, yes, you could freehand the whole lot, but this just gives you those skulls really quickly. And this is a great video for anyone that's just starting out. It's simple enough to do. Go grab yourself the template, and then you can follow along this video and just create sort of skulls and change it up as much as you need to for your own particular artwork. And obviously these will work as well if you're doing any automotive sort of applications. You can just replicate what you see here and keep using those templates over and over and over. So the key is really, I've sprayed them nice and light, and now I'm going in again with my burnt umber, and I'm just starting to define everything. So this is where a bit of the freehand airbrushing comes into play, and I'm just making it up as I go. So obviously all my main features are there, so I just need to run shadows and create a bit more texture as I go. But essentially I'm just picking the areas that I want to add shadows to, and put cracks in certain spots. So effectively just let your style come through. You'll find that you're going to create these skulls with your particular look of skulls, so that's perfectly fine. I totally encourage that. So the airbrush that I'm using at the moment is the Iwata CMC Plus Micron. This has a 0.23mm needle, and it's a great all-round brush, perfect for super fine detail as well as quick coverage. So if this is the first time watching one of my videos, welcome. I do hope that you're enjoying this video so far. I do lots of how-to tutorials, quick tips, showcase insights, loads of different update videos as well. If you're interested in this type of content, by all means feel free to hit subscribe, tap on that bell icon, that will notify you every time I put out new content. And if you are enjoying this video and you feel that it's helpful for others, by all means feel free to share it on all social media platforms, and let's just continue to grow this particular community of like-minded airbrush artists or airbrush enthusiasts. So thank you for watching, and for anyone that has subscribed and is a regular viewer of our content, welcome back. Thanks for joining me yet again for another airbrush tutorial. I do hope that you're also enjoying this video and that you like the artwork that I am creating in this particular time. So throughout this video you will see that I am varying my height as well as the amount of paint that I'm applying to certain sections of this particular artwork. I'd also recommend that you keep an eye on my trigger finger and watch how far I am pulling back on that trigger depending on what type of stroke I am creating. So you'll notice that when I'm doing the finer strokes, I will be up extremely close and I'm moving consistently with that airbrush and pulling back less on the trigger, therefore allowing less paint to be released through the fluid nozzle. And then when I want to do a shadow, I am moving away from the surface and I'm pulling back a little bit more, but still building it gradually. I'm not trying to oversaturate the area. and therefore I'm allowing the paint to dry so that it is not creating a wet spot on my artwork. Okay, so now that I've finished up with the burnt umber, I am using Old Bone White from Createx Illustration Colors. This is part of the Bloodline range. And I'm starting to now add some highlights. So this will also add more texturing. The good thing is we did the texturing in the earlier stages, so we've already got a lot of texture in this artwork. So now I am just coming in, adding these highlights, which is going to create an extra level of depth to the artwork. Very sorry about the noisy compressor there. So obviously it kicks in as soon as it needs a bit more air pressure, but it runs a pretty big tank. I run a 150 litre tank in my studio, so it doesn't kick in that often, which is great. So you can see I'm moving right along with this Old Bone White highlighting, also getting into the eye sockets as well and the lower areas of the nostrils, just to pick up that sense of depth. So you can be as free as you like with this particular step, add in as much texture as you like, so don't feel you have to follow me completely. And you'll notice there I'm going back with my texture templates, so just mixing it up a bit, and just experiment with the freehand templates as well. So try lifting them as you're spraying through it, try moving with them, and also laying them flat. You're going to get all different sort of results, so good fun to work with. Okay, so pretty happy with the white. Now I'm going to move on to my darker tone, which will be sepia. This is a Createx illustration colour, and just mix with reducer. So mix it up to your liking. And I've gone back to my original template here just to get some sharp edges on the eye sockets and in certain sections of the skull. So obviously using the template makes it nice and easy because it's exactly the right shape and everything. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue to detail with sepia and just doing a lot of this freehand now, so adding some texturing, even more texturing. So up nice and close. You'll also notice that I've switched airbrushes, so I'm now using my CMSB Micron. This is with a side feed cup, and it runs a 0.18mm needle, so really easy to get that fine detail in there. So every now and then you might see the airbrush pull away from the artwork and kind of hear this high-pitched sort of air squealing sound. That's me putting my finger over the front of the brush and I'm pulling back on that trigger just to bubble back through the cup, and this will dislodge any dried paint or tip drying issues that I have. So it's just a quick way to clean the brush whilst working. So you can see here I'm just working on the teeth, so up nice and close and just rendering around them. I'm not just doing a line right around each tooth, so I'm just using my shading just to pull out the details to make these teeth look a little bit more three-dimensional. And as you can begin to see as well, this artwork is not designed to be a photorealistic representation of a pile of skulls. So I'm just having fun with this, just showing you the way I painted it using this particular template, which was sent to us by AirShot Stencils. So again, just adding a bit more texture, this time using the TFX2 template and a bit of sepia, and then I'm airbrushing back over that. So you just want to build your texture and just allow it to shine through. It doesn't have to be overpowering, and that's the beauty of it. If you add it gradually throughout, it kind of looks as though it's all meant to be there, part of each particular layer. So just for something a little bit different, I would love to hear from you guys what airbrush you use and also what paint you use. So feel free to leave that in the comments below and we can get a bit of a conversation going, and I think it'll just be a cool topic to have a chat about with the entire Airbrush Asylum community. So grabbing my template here again and just using it as a positive mask just to spray around the edges of the skulls, and I'm just continuing with my sepia detailing and shading to add more and more depth and detail to these skulls. So the PSI that I'm spraying at for this particular artwork is around 20 to 25 PSI. So that just allows for a nice constant spray and also allows for really easy detailing. I am spraying a little bit higher than usual. Usually I'd be about sort of 15 or 18 to 20 PSI, especially when using the CMSB Micron. But that's usually when I'm doing automotive surfaces. So because this is a canvas, I am running it a little bit of high pressure. Just thought I'd let you guys know. So I know I get a lot of questions about my PSI, so there you have it. Okay, so now I'm going to add further detailing as well as some texture with white. So this is Trident airbrush paint mixed with reducer, not as thin as I usually would run it, again because I'm working on a canvas, and this time I'm spraying it through the 0.35 Iwata HPC SE clips, so that will run the paint a bit thicker if need be. And I'm using my real fire templates here, these prototypes, which are prototypes at the moment, but we will be producing these for sale. They were made by AirShot Stencils. And I'm just using these basically to create some sharp edges for my highlights, just to define some of those points of the bone on the skull. So just picking out my edges. That's the beauty of these sort of templates. They're not just designed for realistic fire, you can utilize them for all sorts of different applications. And because there's 4 different types in my real fire templates, there's usually a curve that will work for a certain particular shape that I'm trying to either highlight or add a shadow to. And you can see here I'm using a different type of texture template. This one is also from AirShot Stencils, and just using that to further detail some of these highlights and create more of that bone texture. Okay, so now that I am satisfied with the amount of white highlights that I've got on these skulls, I have now switched to my transparent black. This is transparent base mixed with reducer, and then I add drops of black to that until I'm happy with the intensity of it. Again, just utilizing some of those edges of the fire template. So just breaking it up. So I've done a lot of this artwork freehand, but utilizing those templates just to get those sharp edges, and obviously starting with the template, which is the whole point of the video. So yeah, so mixing it up with freehand and template use throughout. With this particular tone, the transparent black, I just really want to further define my shadows and add some extra detailing and textures here and there. I don't want to just go over everything that I've done, so that's the most common mistake that I see. A lot of people just, you know, start with that sepia tone, get to their darker tone, and then just coat everything again, so you're virtually losing all of that work that you've put in with the sepia. The idea is to build up a gradation so that it goes from sepia to the darker tone, and then you've got your highlights on there. So bear that in mind. This is purely for like your eye sockets, your nostrils, but as you can see, I'm not just flat toning them, I'm allowing all of that detail to shine through. So be very, very cautious with this step. Don't overdo it. Remember, less is more. So there you have it, the completed sepia skull artwork. I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and thanks again for watching. Until next time, go grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, especially give this one a go. And I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon in my next video. Take care. Bye for now.